Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 New York Building Congress Annual Meeting and Construction Industry Forum. I'm Carlo Chisora. I'm thrilled to welcome you in my 5th year as your president and CEO. And boy, what a year it's won. Liz, it's great to see you.
Good to see everybody. I'm Elizabeth Velez. I'm president of the Velez Organization, and I'm proud to be starting my 2nd year as chair of the New York Building Congress.
And look, it's been a crazy year, but look at where we are. The new Moynihan train station that is the most beautiful new station in the world. Thank you to Governor Andrew Cuomo, to all of our members who took the last few years to put together this incredible project. Who would have thought a year ago where we would be today? But the New York construction industry, our design community, our engineers, our architects, we are all doing great. We're ready for 2021, which will go down in history as the year of infrastructure, not just in New York, but across the country.
Absolutely, and despite the global pandemic, this $1.6 billion project created 5,000 construction jobs and 11,000 indirect jobs, a true testament to the grit, tenacity, and expertise of our industry.
And the best is yet to come. Within a few years, this entire neighborhood will be transformed. We're watching construction happening all across the 5 boroughs, all across the region. In a few years, you will be coming through the new gateway tunnels right into Penn South. A couple of blocks from here, the Javits Center is almost done with their $1 billion+ expansion. And think about Javits. In April, it was a hospital. Today, it's a place to get vaccines and look to the future. And that excites all of us, right, Liz?
Absolutely. Our industry is fully at the forefront of everything in everyday life for us in New York, but especially now with this global pandemic. You were saying Javits with the hospital, and also us now pushing forward on COVID testing and vaccination sites.
And look, whenever people say New York is over, our best days are over, I say, look to the future, think about tomorrow, and the building industry in New York will get us through it. Enjoy the afternoon and have a great annual meeting. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us virtually today and for supporting the Building Congress and this amazing building industry in New York. I hope you enjoyed that video. It was so much fun doing it. And if you haven't already been there, you must go see the Moynihan Train Hall for yourself. It's been open for less than a month, but its impact can already be felt. I actually came in on Amtrak last Saturday at Moynihan, and wow, did it feel great. I get the sense that it's already woven into the city's urban fabric, and it is just a game changer for the west side of Manhattan. I fully expect the way we revere Grand Central Station today is the way people will look at Moynihan in the decades to come. Now, New York is constantly changing, it's constantly evolving, and it's because of the work that you all do. Our city improves because of the structures you bring to life. It never ceases to amaze me just how extraordinary the building industry and the Building Congress members are. This year, more than ever, I am extremely proud to serve as the president and CEO of this incredible organization and to represent all of you. Now in my 5th year, and I can't believe it's 5 years, I am as committed, I am as excited, and I am as ready to go as I was back in January of 2017. And I thank you all for your continued support. Let me acknowledge those who made today's event possible. Thank you to our underwriters, Bravo Group and Ihab Shahada, Global Infrastructure Solutions and John Dionisio, Siame Construction and Frank Siame and Joe Mizzi, and STV Group, the one and only Dominic Servideo and Greg Kelly. Our co-hosts, AECOM and the Velez Organization, and our sponsors, Brookfield Properties, the Building and Construction Trades Council of Greater New York, Gary LaBarbera, thank you. Langen, National Grid, Siska Hennessy Group, and Thornton Tomasetti. Thank you to our Board of Directors at the Building Congress and our Board of Governors at the Building Foundation. Look, everything we accomplish is because of your leadership, your vision, and your support. And of course, a special thanks to our chair, Elizabeth Velez, president of the Velez Organization. During the highs and lows of the past year, Elizabeth was through it all. She has done so much for the building industry and the Building Congress. She's truly an inspiration to all of us. And Liz, I promise you, we will get back to in-person events in a few months. Everyone, please welcome Madam Chair Elizabeth Velez.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Carlo, for that very kind introduction. And thank you all for attending the New York Building Congress's 2021 annual membership meeting. I greatly admire this industry and all of you, and I'm so thankful for being able to speak to you today. I particularly enjoy this event because it offers a moment to reflect on the past and also to prepare for the future. We, the Building Congress, the building industry, and society as a whole are at an inflection point. Looking back on 2020, it was certainly different than I anticipated standing on the stage at last year's annual meeting. This pandemic has brought health, economic, and emotional hardship, and the calls for racial justice have underscored long-standing social inequities. But 2020 did have a silver lining. It reinforced how proud we are of our architecture, engineering, and construction industries, and how critically important we are to New York. It is truly an honor to be serving as chair of the Building Congress, and I am in awe of all that this industry accomplishes when working together. We approach everything with hope, resiliency, grit, integrity, passion, and heart. When faced with the challenges of the past year, we were nimble and quick, receiving and giving critical information, reacting quickly so that essential work could continue. COVID-19 was a humbling reminder of the impact this industry has on society. We rapidly assembled hospital facilities for our expanding medical needs. We built testing sites to monitor and slow the spread of the virus, and are creating vaccination centers that will allow for a more normal life to return. At essential work sites, we assisted in the implementation of safety protocols in lockstep and contributing to ever-evolving guidance from public health officials. We transitioned to this virtual environment and, as Carlo mentioned earlier, have done so successfully. Like many of you, I relied on the Building Congress's timely news updates and webinars. I appreciated the personal nature of the Espresso with Carlo series, and I enjoyed strengthening old friendships and building new relationships, even within the confines of this digital life. I also will not be the first to say, I'm sure, that some meetings are best done on Zoom. I want to thank Carlo and the entire staff of the Building Congress for ensuring the continued success of an organization that's older than the Empire State Building. Thank you to the board of directors for electing me as chair and for all of your support. The Building Congress is lucky to have each and every one of you as part of its leadership. And the biggest thank you goes to this entire industry for meeting the challenges of uncertain times and doing something that we've never done before. If we were all together at the Pierre, I would say that this is the time for a standing ovation. This is the time for recognizing that when the going gets tough, this industry gets going. We also learn. Looking forward, we will take the innovations from the past year and apply them to 2021 and beyond. We are at the forefront of many industries within New York and the world. We build what people need, and we continue to be leaders. The Building Congress will continue to advocate in City Hall, up in Albany, and down in Washington, D.C. on our behalf, calling upon all levels of government to invest in infrastructure. Investing in infrastructure is also an investment in all of our communities. The building industry can take pride and deserved credit for the largest percentage of contracts to MWBE firms by the city and the state. Our industry is vibrant and diverse, and we must continue leading the way to a more equitable New York. After the chaos of this past year, there are better days ahead. Of course, 2021 also marks a significant milestone for this organization and for our industry. 100 years of the Building Congress, 100 years of bringing people together, and 100 years of building a better New York. I, for one, cannot wait to celebrate the Building Congress's centennial with a year of exciting programming and, of course, our ball in November. To close, I want to say again how proud I am of this industry. There is permanence to what we do. We can see and feel the results of our work. And our work touches the lives of everyone in New York. We improve city skylines and local communities alike. So let's enter this new year with a resolve and continue to marvel at the significance of what we do. It is now my pleasure to introduce Cyrus Izzo, Treasurer of the Building Congress.
Good afternoon. It is an honor that I come to you today as your treasurer to present an outstanding financial report despite all of the unforeseen circumstances of 2020. As of December 31st, 2020, our unaudited financial report indicates continued success for the New York Building Congress. As you may recall, in June of last year, we reduced our initial budget of $4,715,000 by $992,500. I am happy to report to you that by year end, we raised approximately 93% of the modified budget, collecting an impressive $3,474,000. Thanks to all of you, membership revenue, including new dues, renewals, and upgrades, reached a notable high of $1,883,350. Over $50,000 more than we budgeted. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the 2020 Annual Leadership Awards Luncheon, but many of our generous members agreed to have the funds transferred to the annual Industry Recognition Gala. Though this was our very first virtual event, it was a huge success. We raised a little more than $500,000 in revenue from the gala, which is very impressive. Overall, we still managed to collect approximately $1.5 million in revenue from all 2020 events. Total expenses for 2020 stayed within the modified budget, less than 90% of what we budgeted. We spent more on things such as online subscriptions in order to keep up with the change to a virtual world and continue bringing you the networking opportunities that you all enjoy. With a new federal administration, and our continued efforts to expand the brand of the New York Building Congress, we will increase spending on travel in 2021. We plan to continue our advocacy efforts in both Washington, D.C. and Albany. Looking ahead, our board approved a 2021 budget, which shows that we anticipate a strong comeback year. We hope to raise revenue totaling $5,012,500. This increase in our budget is based on all of the Centennial events planned for the year. As our events and membership base continue to grow, we hope that you continue to support the Building Congress as we provide extensive policy research, advocacy, and networking opportunities that we know will benefit all of you and the industry as a whole. So on behalf of the Board of Directors, we are thankful to you for your generous support throughout the years, and we look forward to bringing you more positive financial news at the next membership meeting. A copy of our audited financials will be available later in the year. So at this time, I would like to introduce our secretary, Carl Galeotto, who will present the membership report. Thank you.
In April 1921, 25 architects, engineers, contractors, and labormen met in the office of world-renowned architect Robert D. Cohen. These men were concerned that the building and construction industry was disorganized. They left the meeting with the goal of creating an organization of owners, bankers, architects, engineers, contractors, subcontractors, manufacturers, suppliers, and labor representatives. In the words of Mr. Cohn, we started out with the idea that the only hope for effective improvement in the industry was to render, through cooperation of all its elements, some measure of service which the public had the right to demand of us. Out of this meeting was born the New York Building Congress. Membership of the Building Congress has grown significantly since its inception. As we kick off our centennial year, on behalf of the Board of Directors, I would like to thank all Building Congress members, long-standing and new, for your participation, which made 2020 an unforgettable year for many reasons and gives us hope for a bright future in 2021. With 56 new members joining and 38 companies upgrading their membership in 2020, the Building Congress now has 498 member organizations and counting. This was especially noteworthy as we met our membership goals in the middle of a pandemic. Many aspects of the 2020 membership campaign contributed to these results, including personal outreach by Building Congress staff, timely and informative updates, and a member orientation, which has now become an annual event, but held virtually. These exercises provided valuable feedback and insight, which was used to generate the plan for 2021. Our membership consists of all sectors of design, construction, and real estate community throughout the region, and the list continues to grow daily. I encourage you to remain involved by participating in our committees and attending our events, and please urge your associates and colleagues to join. You can speak to Giancarlo Sapio, Director of Membership, to get more information or visit us online. As we head into the centennial year, we appreciate your involvement and look forward to another great year. I'd now like to introduce Cheryl McKissick-Daniel, Chair of the New York Building Foundation.
The New York Building Foundation, the charitable arm of the New York Building Congress, is dedicated to promoting the long-term growth and well-being of the New York City building industry and the wider community through an active program of research, education, and philanthropy. Established in 1998, the Building Foundation is focused on leveraging the talents and vast resources of all sectors of the building industry to benefit New Yorkers and give back to the community. As we all know, 2020 presented us with many challenges, and the New York Foundation knew it was vital to provide support to nonprofit organizations in our industry. In 2020, the Building Foundation issued $20,000 grants to 4 organizations providing programs and services to New Yorkers. The ACE Mentor Program of Greater New York, New York Helmets to Hard Hats, Non-Traditional Employment for Women, and the Salvadori Center. Additionally, the Building Foundation issued its second community grant to the Design Trust for Public Space for their opening of the EDGE project, a collaboration with the New York City Housing Authority to create public outdoor spaces in an underutilized grassy area of the Lillian Wall houses on the Lower East Side for residents to enjoy. This past year, the Building Foundation continued to make research a priority of its mission and partnered with the Building Congress to produce timely reports on issues and trends affecting the industry. This work includes the most recent installment of our annual industry forecast, the New York City Construction Outlook, and the supplemental Construction Outlook Update series, which provides timely, sector and issue-specific analysis. And in 2020, the New York Building Foundation released a first-of-its-kind infrastructure scorecard, a comprehensive assessment designed to provide citizens and decision makers with better understanding of New York's infrastructure conditions. In response to the movements for social justice that we saw in 2020, The Building Foundation provided support to launch the Equity and Inclusion Task Force. This joint initiative of the Building Foundation and the Building Congress was formed to address racial inequity within our industry. And I am proud to serve as co-chair of the task force and the Building Congress chair, Elizabeth Velez. The Equity and Inclusion Task Force will be releasing an action plan earlier this year with recommendations of both short-term and long-term actions to help create a more equitable industry culture. As chair of the Building Foundation, I look forward to working with the Board of Governors and members of the Building Congress to expand our influence and support the growth of the building industry and the New York community. I now welcome Pete Marchetto, Chair of the Building Congress 2021 Nomination Committee, to present the nominating committee report.
Hello, everyone. On behalf of the 2021 Nominating Committee, I am pleased to report the election of the following 20 directors for the class of 2023. Vincent Alvarez, Lynn Brown, Louis Coletti, Peter DiMaggio, Ralph Esposito, Sabrina Canner, Eli Corey, Gary LaBarbera, Peter Marchetto, Christopher McCartan, Richard Monopoly, Terry O'Neill, Patricia Ornst, Jonathan Resnick, Michael Russo, Ehab Shahada, Steve Summer, Iris Weinshaw, Eli Zamek, and a young professional candidate. Ballots were received from 110 members. Under the procedures established in the bylaws, these 20 directors are hereby elected. The names of current directors in the classes of 2021 and 22 were also circulated to the membership in the December vote ballot for their review. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome newly elected directors, Patricia Ornst of Delta Airlines, Ehab Shahada of Bravo Group, and Steve Summer of Lend-Lease to the board, and Richard Cavallero of Gilbane Building Group, who has rejoined. I would also like to thank Peter Caffiero, Bill Gilbane, Susan Hayes, who will assume emeritus position, Henry Kuykendall, and Christopher Larson for their service as board members. With the approval received, the process to fill vacancies for the young professional candidate will now begin. Those who participate on the Young Professionals Committee will receive an email shortly regarding the submission requirements. I would like to express appreciation to the nominating committee for their time and willingness to serve the Building Congress in this important way. And of course, to the Board of Directors for your support and dedication to the organization. This completes the report of the 2021 Nominating Committee. It is now my pleasure to welcome back New York Building Congress President and CEO, Carlos Cesora. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you for all you do for the Building Congress. For the past few years, we've been leading up to really what I think is the most significant milestone in our history. And I'm so excited that it's finally here, our Centennial. It's no small feat to last 100 years, but we haven't just lasted 100 years. Because of all of you, we've thrived. So happy start of our birthday year to the New York Building Congress. When we were founded in 1921, New York City and the building industry looked quite different. Our subway system was a sixth of what it was today. The Empire State Building was a decade away from breaking ground, and the building industry was fragmented by trade. Back then, our founders created an organization where contractors, architects, engineers, developers, owners, and labor, and all those with a role in the built environment can convene and share ideas. Over the last century, we have proudly continued that legacy of collaboration and cooperation. With the support of our members, the Building Congress has become an influential organization and one of the leading voices of our industry, not just in New York, but across the nation. We work tirelessly to ensure your achievements and contributions to the success of New York are fully appreciated. So what is going to happen for our year-long Centennial celebration? We will host monthly events to honor the milestones and the individuals that shape New York and the Building Congress. We have a number of special projects planned, including a major exhibit in the fall, a commemorative book that all of you will have for the rest of your lives, and a 30-minute documentary, all which will highlight the critical role of the building industry and our communities and how we played a major role over the last century in making New York City the greatest city in the world. And then, of course, we will look forward with a report titled The Next 100 Years. Stay tuned for that. Leading the charge of co-chairs of our Centennial Commission are two individuals who, you may know them as shy, reserved, quiet, back of the room. Clearly, I'm joking. Two individuals who have taken charge and are leading us in such a great way. Frank Siame, CEO and Chairman of Siame Construction, and Dominic Servideo, Chairman of STV Group. Dominic, I like to call you the godfather of the industry, and Frank won't mind. And they're going to make sure 2021 will go down in the history books. Frank and Dominic are distinguished leaders in our industry, and both have served as Building Congress chairman. Here's a short message from them.
What does it take to build the greatest city in the world? It takes time. It takes hard work and dedication.
And it takes cooperation. Hi, I'm Frank Siame, Chairman and CEO of Siame Construction.
And I'm Dominic Servideo, Chairman of STV Group.
We are proud to be co-chairs of the New York Building Congress Centennial Commission.
For the last century, the New York Building Congress has helped shape the building industry and thus shape New York City.
From the depths of the Great Depression, periods of war, and the senseless tragedy of September 11,
to the building booms of the 1960s and 90s. In more recent years, the Building Congress has focused its energies on the issues of the day while helping to keep the industry, government, and all New Yorkers focused on tomorrow.
Together we have built a city for the people who live and work here. By forging dedicated alliances, we have navigated the issues of the past while preparing for the future.
This year we celebrate those 100 years of building, highlighting the people and organizations that have helped lead the way.
The Building Congress is dedicated to preserving our industry's history and to looking to the future with a documentary and commemorative book released later this year.
And throughout 2021, visitors will experience that history firsthand through an interactive exhibit.
For the last century, the Building Congress has united the best and the brightest of the industry. It has helped organize all sectors of the building community so that we may find common ground and work together to build this city. Those principles remain just as important today as the day the Building Congress was founded.
This year, by looking back on the past century, we can continue to build a better and brighter future for New York City and the people who make it the greatest city in the world.
And now is your chance to be part of our 100-year anniversary. Support our commemorative projects, participate in our gallery exhibit, join a committee, donate your services, and help us spread the word. as we build toward our Centennial Ball. On behalf of Building Congress Chair Elizabeth Velez and President and CEO Carlo Shasura,
we look forward to celebrating a century of building successes.
Gentlemen, thank you. What a great video and a great message. And thank you to those members who have already committed their support for the Centennial. I hope that you got very excited about our 100th birthday. To all of our members, I hope to see you virtually and when possible in person in a few months throughout 2021. We've got great industry breakfasts coming up, our Ascend Innovation Conference, our Built New York exhibit, and of course the Centennial Ball. You only turn 100, and I cannot wait to continue celebrating the past, present, and future of the building industry and this incredible organization. Of course, the pride and gratitude I feel today, it's not really only because of the Centennial, but also because of the darkness that we've overcome this past year. While the pandemic may not be over and we all have to continue to be careful, we can see the light of the end of the tunnel. As vaccines are distributed, as the warmer weather is coming up, and each and every one of us and all of you should be very proud of the role our industry played in fighting this pandemic. From the donation of PPE to designing and building temporary medical facilities. As always, the building industry rose to the challenge, did what it had to do to help New York recover, and was right on the ground. COVID-19 has had an unimaginable impact on our industry, on our city, on our state, our nation, and across the globe. But united, we will persevere, we will prevail, and we will be better than we ever have been. A special thank you to the entire staff of the Building Congress for adapting so quickly and for all of their incredible work during this difficult year. Throughout lockdowns and openings and closings, ever-changing protocols, we continued to provide our members with timely information and updates. We went virtual, switching to online meetings and starting a very successful webinar series, Espresso with Carlo. Now, many people ask, do you really drink espresso during Espresso with Carlo? And I will say this, I drink a lot of espresso. I am Sicilian after all, so clearly there are one or two espressos at each of the events. We've had guests like Senate Majority Leader. Let me say that again, by the way. New York has, for the first time in our history, the Majority Leader of the U.S. Senate. And I might add, he's from Brooklyn, Chuck Schumer. Senator Schumer, thank you. My good friend, Attorney General Tish James, Public Advocate Jumaane Williams, MTA Chief Development Officer Jano Lieber, just to name a few. And in 2021, Espresso with Carlo will be introducing you to all of the candidates for mayor and comptroller. So please make sure you tune in. We hosted our first, and I pray our hopefully last virtual gala back in November, thanks to the leadership of our gala co-chairs. Actually, I think it was December. Co-chairs Lisa Cassone, EVP of Cassone Leasing, and Ihab Shahada, President and CEO of Bravo Group. With proper precautions, we also got outside to play some much-needed golf back in September, and that was great. We were a thought leader and industry advocate. We communicated daily with all levels of government to ensure that the building industry was taken into consideration with every decision they made. And as Cheryl spoke about earlier, we formed the Equity and Inclusion Task Force to address racial inequality within the building industry. It's not an easy subject, but it's an important subject. The task force took a hard look at where we currently stand as an industry and had honest and open discussions about what we want our industry to look like in the future. Now, we know this doesn't change overnight. It's something that will take time, but I will tell you this, it is something that will be a major priority for the Building Congress and Building Foundation for years to come. It will be the actions of our members that drive real change in our industry, because honestly, our existence and future success depends on it. That's why we are creating a member pledge, excuse me, a 5-year voluntary commitment for membership organizations to act in 5 key areas: hiring, advancement, leadership, partnerships, and procurement. In the coming months, we will be releasing more details on the member pledge and how our organization can get involved. Now, by the way, this task force doesn't just end now. We've determined that the task force will become one of our major councils as part of the Building Congress. And we will be announcing co-chairs of this new council back in a few months in March, so stay tuned. We published 10 reports this past year, including some of our big idea series, Building the Future of New York, as well as the Get New York Building Report, featuring ideas from the building industry on how to help us build back stronger. In our NYC checkup, we explored the impact of healthcare and the life sciences on the built environment, projecting healthcare construction alone to contribute $9.4 billion to the city's economy between 2020 and 2023. During our Construction Outlook Week, we heard from Mayor Bill de Blasio, and in our report, Construction Outlook 2020 to 2022, we forecasted New York City construction spending to reach $55.5 billion and employ over 128,000 New Yorkers in 2020. When you say this industry is strong, ladies and gentlemen, this industry is a powerhouse because of you. And today, just a few minutes ago, we released our 2021 policy agenda. It should already be in your inbox as I speak. This blueprint guides our advocacy efforts at the city, at the state, and at the federal levels. I encourage you all to read it and give us feedback. One very important thing that I'm asking is that you fill out our Building Congress Across America survey. In March, we will release one of our most valuable reports that highlights the range of our members all across the 50 states. We use Building Congress Across America to show our members of Congress how the building industry strengthens our nation. Many of you are building not just in Brooklyn or Queens or the Bronx or even in Midtown Manhattan. You're building in Kentucky. You're building in Seattle, Washington. You're building in Florida, in Chicago, in Texas. I can go on. Through each project, our members collaborate with local firms, boost regional economy, create jobs. They build critical community resources. And by the way, you know our subway cars that we all love? They're not made in Brooklyn. They're made in other states. And I can go on about the materials that we use to build in New York that are creating jobs across the country. In Washington, D.C., we continue to push for a comprehensive national infrastructure plan. With federal support and funding, we can fix roads and bridges. We can build capacity in transportation systems. We can address the shortfalls in water, energy, and broadband systems. And we know what happened with broadband in the past year. We got to get that rebuilt. We can break ground on construction projects across the country. We can build housing and schools and hospitals, cultural institutions, and something near and dear to my heart, open space, parks, and green spaces. There's never been a better time. There's never been a moment in our history. Now is the time. A newly sworn in President Biden, Senator Chuck Schumer as Majority Leader, Governor Andrew Cuomo, I call him the nation's infrastructure governor, $306 billion infrastructure plan. Now is the time for a pro-development, community-involved, and let's prioritize our infrastructure. Infrastructure investment will reinvigorate the economy, will create jobs, and improve our communities. It's very simple. You spend $1 billion in infrastructure, you create 5,000 new jobs. Think about that. That's why we called upon the new administration to support our region's highest priority projects in the first 100 days. The Gateway Program, the Empire Station Complex, 2nd Avenue Subway Phase 2, congestion pricing, AirTrain LaGuardia, and NYCHA, and the Port Authority bus terminal. In New York State, we support the governor's ambitious efforts to better our infrastructure and environment. We will fight hard and urge and try and stop with all of our might any reductions to capital budgets. Now is the time to invest in the future. We have an opportunity for historic investment in the future of our region. And we are excited to follow through on the multi-billion-dollar transformation of Midtown with the expansion and renovation of Penn Station and the Port Authority bus terminal and Penn South. In New York City, we seek to protect, maintain, and expand our essential infrastructure. Everything from roads and bridges and mass transit, healthcare, laboratories, communications, and a 5G network, parks, and open space. We are calling again, and we urge Mayor de Blasio and anybody who's going to be the next mayor to create the position of Deputy Mayor of Infrastructure and Construction, the person who will see all public capital construction across the city and serve as the single point of contact for the multiple agencies involved in the development process. Streamlining construction and investing in infrastructure will jumpstart our economy and set the stage for our future. The bottom line is we advocate for all of you. Advocacy is the heart and soul of the Building Congress. We will make sure our elected officials at City Hall in Albany and Washington know who you are, appreciate the work you do, and understand the jobs you are created. I can confidently say the building industry has been and always will be essential to the growth and development of the greatest city in the world. And yes, New York is today, it was yesterday, and it will be tomorrow, the greatest city in the world. Enough with the movers, enough with the U-Hauls going to Florida. It's okay, folks. We're going through a rough time, but we're coming back. We're coming back fast. We're coming back better. We will be greater than we ever were. And all the people who ran out on us when it was easy will want to come back. And for those of you who stayed, for those of you who had men and women on job sites in March and April, for those of you who didn't decamp for other parts of the country, for those of you who brought your children back to go to school in New York in September, for those of you who are building your firms here, hiring new people, getting people back to work, I have a simple message. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are what's making New York City better than it's ever been. So here's to the past 100 years, and I'm excited about the next 100 years together. Now, it is my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, an exceptional leader who knows just a little bit, maybe a lot, about building large capital projects. He leads the charge on some of our region's biggest and boldest infrastructure priorities, including the redevelopment of JFK and LaGuardia airports, of course, AirTrain LaGuardia, and now, as he announced just a few days ago, finally a new Port Authority bus terminal. He's an incredible supporter of our industry and working so hard with all of us to build a better New York for all. It's my honor to welcome today the Executive Director of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, dear friend and great, great leader, Rick Cotton.
Hello, I'm Rick Cotton, Executive Director of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and I'm pleased to join you today. This is your 100th anniversary, a proud milestone. I might note it is also this year the 100th anniversary of the Port Authority, so we are intertwined in history. I want to salute New York Building Congress President and CEO Carlos Cesura, a good friend, and Chair Elizabeth Velez, also a good friend, as well as Centennial Commission co-chairs, friend Dominic Servideo and Frank Sciammi. Congratulations on making this event happen under these challenging circumstances. As you well know, we all spent most of 2020 fighting COVID-19 after we were ambushed by the virus. And we battled through the worst of it, thanks in great measure to our essential workers, and that includes construction workers. We now have vaccines that will enable us to defeat the virus. We now will spend most of this year distributing the vaccines and reminding people to remain vigilant by wearing masks and practicing social distancing. Getting vaccines into people's arms will be the greatest test for government since World War II. This region knows how to get things done, and this region will get this done. At the same time, we must begin the process of recovery. A major part of that effort involves you, because it involves building the infrastructure upon which New York will grow and prosper for the rest of this century. The Building Congress, and many of you individually, have fervently supported our infrastructure efforts, from the Mario M. Cuomo and Kosciuszko bridges to the redevelopment of the World Trade Center, the redevelopment of our airports, the Gateway Tunnel. Your support has been and will continue to be critical. In the depths of the Depression, FDR's New Deal invested in infrastructure to stimulate the economy. In doing so, FDR not only accelerated America's movement to the modern era, but lifted people out of despair and restored their hope. Today, with our economy ravaged and our spirits low, we must follow FDR's example and use public investment to spearhead growth. Building new projects, enhancing day-to-day life, seeing projects also lifts people's spirits. Increasing belief in the future and in and of itself stimulates the economy. We know this approach works. Speechifying makes for pretty promises, but New York tells its story with concrete and steel. As long ago as the Erie Canal and as recently as the Moynihan Train Hall, New York has shown that by building with vision, we can achieve opportunity and growth. We know how to build, and we know how the investment actually pays dividends for generations. We understand that we are still living on our forefathers' work, that we haven't built what they built. We are still living on their legacy. Now we're going to build our own legacy. The conditions couldn't be better. We have a new partner in President Biden, a longtime champion of infrastructure investment. I am here today representing Governor Cuomo. As you know, in the governor's State of the State presentation earlier this month, the governor laid out an inspiring infrastructure vision. Governor Cuomo is using the opening of Moynihan Train Hall as the first part of a larger vision to transform Manhattan's Midtown West Side. If you haven't seen Moynihan Train Hall yet, and I know many of you know the project intimately, please treat yourself to a visit. The station harkens back to the time when society took pride in building magnificent public works. But Moynihan Train Hall is just the beginning of the redevelopment of the entire area. Part of the governor's larger vision is to focus on the aging and overcrowded Penn Station across 8th Avenue from the train hall. Like what the state did at Moynihan, the governor's vision will make Penn Station a world-class station that is worthy of New York and the region, and add 40% train capacity with at least 8 additional tracks south of Penn Station. This new complex will be called the Empire Station Complex and will make travel easier, safer, more reliable, and more enjoyable. New York and New Jersey will also look to build 2 new gateway tunnels and renovate the 2 existing train tunnels for a total of 4 train tunnels under the Hudson. But that's not all. With this transportation project as its cornerstone, Governor Cuomo's plan will create a new revitalized commercial and transit-oriented district surrounding Penn Station. Redevelopment will ultimately spread eastward toward Broadway and westward to the Hudson. This will include 10 sites and up to 14 buildings that offer more than 20 million square feet of retail, commercial, and residential development, including up to 1,400 units of much-needed affordable housing. The state is also expanding the Javits Convention Center by 50%, a 1.2 million square foot addition that will be done this year. The plan will also expand the High Line, redevelop the Port Authority bus complex, and get rid of the tow pound on Pier 76 to finally turn the pier into a magnificent public space. Representing $51 billion in investment and 196,000 jobs, the Midtown West redevelopment project is not just a project that helps us now, but also for decades to come. But it is just one project. The governor is also supporting projects across the entire state, including LaGuardia and JFK airports, the MTA capital plan, the Long Island Railroad third track expansion, and the Belmont Arena, which, by the way, will open in time for the Islanders' 2021-2022 season. All told, the governor's infrastructure plan invests $306 billion in the future of New York. That's not just the largest infrastructure plan in New York history, it's the largest plan in any state in the nation. In this post-COVID period, the state will succeed. The state that will succeed is the state that can give the opportunity presented by this moment of change. It may sound like a tall order, but the governor's plan will build a future that our children and our children's children will enjoy and be proud of. Thank you very much for listening, and I wish you a good event today.
Thank you, Rick. That was amazing, and we are so excited about all of this development and thousands of new jobs and funding for all the things we need in our city and state. Look, now's the time to invest. Invest in our infrastructure, build the future, and the New York Building Congress is here to help you and Governor Cuomo advance the vision for the future of New York. And thank you, everyone. This has been really a challenging year, but we're excited about the future. If you are not a member of the Building Congress, please join. Become part of our family. And if you are a member, stay active and keep us busy. Now, stay tuned for our networking session after a brief pause. The link will be available in the chat. Again, thank you, everyone. New York's best days are ahead of us. Have a great day.